We thank the president of the INEGI, Dr. and also Dr. Gerardo Leiva, researcher, and the authorities, Mr. Carrera Riva Palacios of Infotech, Mr. Mosqueda, Director of Innovation, Patricia Avila Munoz, Research Manager, and we welcome the speakers who we also thank you for accepting to present during this seminar. Mr. Puyol Montero, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Reyes Kraft, and Mr. Pisanti Barujo. Other participations will be of great value for the objective of this seminar, which is to present and discuss the main opportunities and challenges that big data brings to official information, and to find the main sources of this information and the legal, political, and governance challenges of this. We will discuss issues related to big government, big data and government, the right to privacy, as well as electronic transactions and commerce. As part of the justification of this seminar, we mentioned that to extract the potential of big data, we must need the right regulation and legal framework for the exploitation of data for the public good, and to promote the methodologies and technologies that are adequate for this. This is the reason for this session. Having said this, we will mention the dynamic of this session. Each of our specialists will have up to 30 minutes to expose his ideas, and at the end of the 4 participations, we will also have 30 minutes for questions and answers. In attention to this, we will begin with the participation of Mr. Javier Puyol, who will speak of big data and public management, public administration, to contextualize on the framework of official information and the challenges in creating it. Once have discussed this, Mr. Leandro Nunez will tell us what the challenges are in terms of privacy and big data with government and private, in the government and private sector. Having taken this into account, we will listen to Mr. Alfredo Reyes Kraft, who will speak of transactions, signing, and electronic banking, all of which use big data. And finally, as a medular element, Dr. Alejandro Pisanti will speak of another important challenge, which is e-governance, which is an area of his specialty and which is closely related to big data. So I will present Magistrate Puyol Montero. He has a degree in law and a master in law as well, and his thesis is about cloud computing. He is a consultor of the ISMS Forum Alliance and the Spanish Professionals on Privacy. He also has a master's from the Pontifical University, and he's an expert in arbitrage. He's a member of the Paris Chamber of Commerce, and a member of the Council of Arbitrage of Madrid. He was a director at Banco Bilbao Vizcaya from 2000 to 2014. He is currently the director of E-Puyol and Associates and a member of Rivas and Associates. He is a professor of different masters, and also in procedural law at IEDM and at the Institute of Companies, the University of Deusto, and others. He has given more than 500 conferences on issues related to arbitrage, constitutional procedures, economic law, new technologies and privacy, compliance and social and corporate responsibility, legal advisory for companies. He has written 50 books and 200 published articles. He is director of the Tirant Leblanc series of books. Thank you for your introduction. I'm very happy to be here in Mexico City, and I'm very happy and I thank Infotech and INEGI for inviting me. I'm going to try and be as brief as possible and very straightforward. I'm going to speak of big data because I think they've been sufficiently discussed by the people who preceded me. I think it's important to explain the guidelines for this. I need to speak of the relation between open data. I think we need to consider. Well, there's an consulting group called IDC-ADG who says that the size of the digital universe was 2.8 gigabytes, and by 2020 it's going to be 40 gigabytes. So I think fundamentally this data will be obtained from devices, although 0.05 information will be subject of detailed analysis. We can affirm that 20% of the digital universe currently is unprotected in the face of digital theft, privacy, or regulations, rules, and other specifics. It is true that the volume of information is going to grow quite notoriously, perhaps more notoriously than other information, telecommunications, etc., which will practically lead to these investments will reduce in 20% with regards to the exponential growth of the information in the next few years. This will lead to the conclusion that the entire digital universe is a growing and developing area. Big data is not a technology in itself. It's a form of obtaining benefits and value from the great volumes of information generated every day. We must consider things such as capturing, managing, and exploiting this data, ensuring them, and as well as their validity and plausibility, creating compartments for this data to obtain improvements, how to communicate this through different visualization techniques, such as tools, what formats we need to use fundamentally for the decision making and analysis. Big data in general has many benefits. I think many have been expressed here. I would like to insist on a few. It offers a more and more precise description of different types of resources. It allows to create adaptations at any scale, knowing its impact on a concrete service at the moment, and also helps improve the supply and demand, and helps offer better services and accelerates the development of products and better innovation and also better efficiency.
All of this has to be projected on public administration. We have to bear in mind that public administration will become one of the most important users of big data. I have seen an example that I think is interesting, which is about the work carried out by IBM and the National Laboratory of Several More, financed by the U.S. Department of Energy, that have described some of the most relevant benefits of the capture and analysis of large data sets from the perspective of public administration. It has also been said that big data will imply a faster and more efficient decision-making. Big data also will suppose a continuous optimization of work systems. Likewise, this will improve efficiency, especially in terms that are as sensitive as citizen security, civil protection, health assistance, and specifically the public sector. Almost all studies highlight a series of sectors that will be very important in terms of the use of big data. These sectors, for instance, are the attention of efficiency, by more efficient decisions in terms of the organization of different departments, the prioritization of internal tasks, as well as the reduction of costs in terms of operational costs. For instance, the Global Institute McKinsey estimates that the exploitation of massive data sets has an annual potential that can amount to 240 billion euros for US society and around 200 billion euros only for the European Union's administration. The second chapter that needs to reflect the efficiency rising from the use of big data by administrations refers to the fight against the fraud and not detected error. Finally, the last chapter alludes to substantial improvements that the use of big data may imply for the collection of taxes in any public administration. Probably another element that might be enormously transcendental from the standpoint of big data is the public management of our cities through the so-called smart cities. There are cities such as Boulder or Columbus in the United States, others in Dubai, Malaga, Barcelona, Santander, Madrid, and San Sebastian in Spain that are very clear examples of efficiency based on the use of big data in the global management of cities. These are cities in which the Internet of Objects and the science of large data sets are working jointly in order to produce information intended to solve modern projects rising from the habitability of cities, efficiency, energy efficiency. And they do this hand in hand with millions of sensors located at traffic lights, waste bins under the sidewalks, and also in this task to collect information and data, our mobile phones play also a role because they have become measuring mechanisms of the state of our houses or our streets. Real-time supervision of the information associated to these urban elements might be helpful, for example, to save between 15 and 7% in the consumption of irrigation water and drinking water, 25% in waste transportation, 17% in the use of energy, and a similar percentage in terms of the possibility of reducing CO2 emissions. For example, it was estimated in 2010 regarding traffic jams produced by the efficient organization of traffic and poor management at parkings. Only in the United States, this produced losses amounting to 65 billion euros, 11 billion liters of fuel, 40 billion hours of activities that were not performed, without counting, arising from this bad performance, the production of traffic accidents and unfortunately also the deaths of a lot of motorists. Regarding smart cities and their relationship with massive treatment of data by administrations, that it is an evident fact that cities will soon concentrate 7 out of 10 citizens, even though they only use 2% of the planet's surface. However, they are already accounting for the massive, or most of the consumption of goods and services, and the largest share of greenhouse gas emissions. So the use of this information is one of the most interesting systems in terms of what now public administrations have available to improve their efficiency in management. Probably this is only a business matter, but it might also be a matter of opportunity that such public administrations expect. In all cases, we need to consider that the figures that this big data is now part of the equation, and this needs to be related to the concept of open data. Open data is a new paradigm in which technology serves as a facilitator to publish knowledge, available knowledge, by public administrations and by governments also. In this matter, it is becoming a tool that enables the performance of processes to extract, treat, and load different sources of public data with clearly defined objectives. In this manner, we can relate demographic, political, census, medical, cultural data, and ask the system to, based on absolutely determined parameters, show us why a certain behavior is taking place and the proneness of these patterns to be repeated or to be maintained for future forecasts. Technology usually goes far ahead its applicability in different functional contexts, especially those that refer to public administrations. Therefore, it is not so much about delving into the state of art of technology, but showing how very mature computer sciences, such as in health, banking, and marketing, can now be applied to the new paradigm of open data by public administrations with the main objective of producing a better understanding by the produce of such information in a direct, simple, and fast manner. We might say without question that open data will allow citizens to publish information at no cost so that other citizens in other places of the globe can also read it cost-free. However, for this possibility to become real, a series of essential conditions need to exist. Data needs to be released, and that implies submitting public information to mandatory open standards. The data produced by the governments needs to be as complete as possible, publishing all the raw data, with the exception of all the data that is private. The information made available publicly by governments need to be primary sources with a sense of timeliness. This means that that information needs to be made available as soon as it is collected by the administration. The data needs to be valid from a statistic standpoint. The value intrinsic to it needs to evidence reality at a higher level, and also the data needs to be accurate, complete, and valid. In reality, seldom can we say that all of these assumptions are being met by public organizations. There is an international standard for the publication of data based on semantic technologies, which is called lean data, that has 5 levels of excellence and that almost no administration complies with. On the other hand, the information presented is not thorough, and it is necessary to obtain further information from additional sources or to manipulate it manually to give meaning to this data that needs to be published. We also need to consider that the cost that the processes of extraction, transformation, and loading imply for administrations means a clear loss of the sense of opportunity or timeliness. The cost of compliance with these requirements is deeper and lies in the fact that at this time no clear objectives exist regarding what data sets need to be published, and especially because we do not have a clear answer to reason why we still need to publish this sort of data. All of this determines the creation of a phenomenon in which it is citizens that are releasing data on the open data format through transformation techniques, extracting knowledge in a normalized manner, which the state has been unable to do. Part of the reason of this phenomenon is the reluctance of publishing raw data by the administrations, and the need to extract from such data only such information that is relevant for needs of specific behavior or for a specific claim of the citizens. This is how the concept of open government is created. It is about the use of technology to foster transparency, participation, and collaboration with interest groups of different administrations and governments. Even though the expression open government was born during the Enlightenment and a statement by President Lincoln in 1863, recently it was President Obama who drove it even further through a memo of transparency in open government in 2009. For Obama, open government must lead towards a public administration and efficient and effective government in such a way. And it is actually about reinventing public management and government. Open government is the addition, or is the sum of government 2.0 and the concept of open data. It is a new paradigm in which technology acts as a facilitator of transformation in the way in which public management is done, as well as government, by fostering transparency, participation, and developing collaboration between interest groups. This means that this is the summation of the publication of raw data in which groups of interest, whether citizens, companies, or public managers, are able to transform such information into information that might be published producing well-paid social benefits, or just translating to social prestige. As a result of this application, final results are obtained in terms of productivity, innovation, reputation, and the fidelity or loyalty of these groups of interests. It is a phenomenon that has a positive impact in the demands of society, so that the final customer can receive an ad hoc application the direct results of such knowledge. And for this to happen, a series of steps need to take place regarding this information. And among these, we can cite a series of concrete achievements: normalization and differentiation between constant data and the associated values to these concepts, which could be presented on graphs and reports. This data needs to be related in such a way that after certain predetermined data, we might find relationships between different concepts and their value. This implies that we need to standardize information, but also that these concepts need to be defined. The data needs to be relevant. This means that we should fight against the noise, the background noise, and only present such information that is connected to the question that indeed needs to be answered. As it might be inferred, navigating this enormous amount of information to select the data sets that might be relevant, to connect them, filtrate them, organize them, certifying their validity, and present them in a format that is used by societies in general, of course, does not become a trivial task. How could it be possible to perform this task? Well, today we need to allude to the technologies of extraction, the analysis, the association of relationships based on artificial intelligence techniques, together in what today has been called big data or big analytics. The challenge is in providing these techniques to the agents of open government, so that the raw data might be translated to knowledge produced with the least possible effort. Cutler's analysts said that big data will not make us smarter, but that big data will probably make us richer. And in fact, big data will not allow us to understand what is in our data, only that which is relevant for our queries, and only that which is in fact relevant. There are reasons regarding why a certain phenomenon is taking place, and big data allows agents to publish this information, translate it for their own benefit. The conversion of both technologies allows to minimize the cost of analysis, transformation, and extraction of relevance, thus increasing the benefit of selling such knowledge to third parties. In this manner, public administrations delegate their development effort to third parties, being their sole responsibility that of publishing raw data. The flow of the process, therefore, would be reasonably simple. Publication of raw data by the administration through open data techniques, supplementing that information with other published sources, collecting and analyzing information automatically, producing of evidence statistically contrasted, and publication of the relevant information in a semantic manner, plus the representation of such information on charts. All this would lead us to a spiraling cycle of insight management surrounding an open government. The open data movement, therefore, provides data that used to be tends to be not structured data. These are of the public administration of projects that have been financed with the public funds or created by public institutions. The objective of opening up to society is that it might profit from them, since the organizations that offer them probably do not want, cannot, or lack the capability of analyzing or processing them properly. Therefore, it is necessary to make them available for society, and that implies that any individual or organization may build on top of them a new idea resulting from the basis of new data, new knowledge, or even the rendering of new services. There is an open door for innovation and knowledge that offers new opportunities for business, of course, but in the case of public administration, the open data movement is now supporting the trend of open government, transparency, definitely on public management, as well as the fostering of interoperability between different administrations, among different public administrations. The Open Data Initiative is a philosophy and it is a practice that is different data and information belonging to public administration to make it accessible and available for everybody without having so many restrictions. The end of the Open Data Initiative is to make information redistributed, reused, both by citizens as well as by companies, to obtain the benefits for all parties. Having access to the administration's data guarantees transparency because this provides access to official data sources. It also efficiency is fostered as well as equal opportunities because citizens and corporations might create services that will solve their needs in collaboration with the administration so that all parties might have access to this data in equal conditions, which is very important. On this regard, there are many topics that we should address that evidently I need to omit due to time constraints, but I might quote the following. The use of open data by administrations for innovation and efficiency that shows the value of open data in the public sector, improvement of rendering public services. So examples are constant and concrete materials regarding the use of data for the creation of policy, visionary ideas for the use of open information on governments, new models for treatment of information, as well as their visualization. Open data without the citizens' participation in the collection of information is called cross-sourcing. The circuit of feedback of open data that materializes in the communication between the organizations that publish the data and the users that are using such information. The collaboration is also fundamental, as I said before, among the different public administrators. Therefore, the need of developing good practice codes for the sharing of open data. And in this regard, I would like to present some ideas, some practical ideas on this field. Of course, as a starting point, there is the harmonization between public administrations. All the points of this good conduct code are based on the assumption that there should be function and communication of all administrations in such a way that their information systems are absolutely compatible. All the open data initiatives need to share the same principles and definitions defined on a good quality principles as interoperability and the efficient participation of different actors needs to exist. If there is no interoperability or coordination between agencies, hardly will we be able to advance on any project. I will not dwell on this, but an important solution would be publishing information in standardized formats among all administrations. It is necessary to find schemes and in the creation of big data profiles, it is also necessary to set for an inventory of data in a structured manner. It is necessary to make this information available from stable, persistent and friendly web addresses. It is necessary to disclose a minimum amount of data regarding the strategy of organizations and their treatment of data. Another important challenge would be the commitment, service commitment, updating and quality of data, maintaining a proper channel of communication. Reorienting between public administrations. It's also important to monitor and evaluate by new metrics that concretely and specifically evaluate the quality of information services that are being provided based on this massive treatment of data. It is also important to provide the data non-restrictively and in a common way so that the free reutilization of the data is carried out, especially even for commercial purposes, while also providing equality for the access. It is also important to make the public aware of the use of data. It is a pending task by regulators and public administrators, as well as collecting applications, tools, and manuals to facilitate such usage. to respect the time allocated to me, and just to finish, I just wanted to make some brief comments about the reuse of information, because I believe there's a fundamental aspect for big data tasks. Yes, information has to do with open data politics. This is raw material for publics and services. Therefore, public administration provides data, just like information is collected in terms of education, economics, the environment, as well as other types of information that are undoubtedly useful. Besides, there is strictly administrative uses. Therefore, the openness of data of the public sector contributes value to the information, to the information. This will mean that information will be a new motor of social and economic development, and the reuse will be another step in implementation of information societies and knowledge societies. Also, the availability of information and the possibility of it being reused, the factor that will prevent the falsification of competence. Therefore, having access to reuse will improve efficiency in information markets, which will enable consumers to have services that will always be more fair. Also, the reuse of data is an economic opportunity for the companies that exploit this information. It is also a lever for other types of social improvements. Therefore, we could discuss data journalism, which stories surround data itself, and new tools to have access to knowledge, to make information more democratic, as well as new data visualization techniques that make the information offered clearer and more understandable. The reuse of information in the public sector has a considerable economic potential that will enable the development of new products, services and markets, foster economic growth, as well as to improve the digital contents industry and any other commercial or industrial activity. In addition, the availability of public information by administrations increases institutional transparency, reinforcing democratic values, and fostering citizens' participation. This is the essential core of the open initiative. I apologize, there were problems with the audio feed to the interpreting booth. So this is why we're experiencing this lapse in interpreting.